The headlines: vendors vent their fury at customs after clothing imports fiasco. Trevor Eastman's even more vexed after a new QEH visit. And the CPL looks to get better buys. Welcome to Nation News for All Year's Day, December the 31st, 2015. It's been a miserable build-up to All Year's Day for some clothing vendors. They were left struggling to salvage some sales at one of their busiest periods because their imported stock was stuck at customs at the airport for more than a week. It was around 1:30 in the afternoon that the stock was finally released from the Sewell warehouse. The vendors told Nation News they were told the vehicle which was supposed to transport the items from the airport to the warehouse for clearance was not in operation. The angry business people gathered outside the warehouse in the morning and waited for more than 3 hours before they spoke to Assistant Controller of Customs Sonia Jordan Clark. After a heated exchange, the vendors were told a resolution was being sought and they returned outside under the supervision of security officers. Comedian Trevor Eastman is reporting that he has received more bad news from the QEH. He says the hospital can't find the medical notes he needs for hip replacement surgery. You may recall that last week Mr. Eastman said that he was in excruciating pain, having waited 8 years to have the surgery done through the QEH. He said plans were being put in place for him to travel to Cuba to have the operation done there, but a record of his medical history was delaying the process. At that time, QEH spokesperson Julie Carrington said that all the comic needed to do was to pay for the document and he would receive it. However, Mr. Eastman said that when he visited the QEH on Monday and paid the required $375, he was told it could not be found. In response, the hospital's CEO has cautioned the comedian about his claims of missing records. Dr. Dexter James said he wasn't going to discuss patient information, but added that the hospital has 90 days within which to get the information in accordance with the requirements of the Medical Council. An elderly woman and her great-grandson were rescued by fire officers after a fire broke out in their Bank Hall home on Wednesday evening. Station Officer Clarence Hines said 72-year-old Lucy Alexander and 5-year-old Jaden Alexander were found lying on a floor in a bedroom. They were treated at the scene before being taken away by ambulance. Neighbors in the Peterkin Land community said they tried to help, but the fire was too much for them to handle. Now, who will be driving you home tonight? That's if you're going out, of course. The Barbados Road Safety Association has just launched its new anti-drunk driving campaign with the theme, "Who will be driving you home tonight?" The association says it will be stepping up its efforts to get breathalyzer tests made law next year. With a 57% increase in road deaths recorded this year, President Charmaine Roland Bowen said people need to be penalized when drunk driving takes lives. There have been 22 road fatalities, 8 more than last year.
On 2016 to be drink driving legislation, and the breathalyzer to be part of these activities and as a gift for our 50th anniversary of independence. So we set out to educate all persons, of the fact, the dangers, of drinking and driving, and also using drugs and driving. So today we know everyone, as you drink, you have a choice. You have 2 choices actually. Those 2 choices are you can drive after or you cannot choose not to drive after. And by saying that, we at the Barbados Road Safety Association advise persons, if they're going to be drinking, to designate their driver. Plan ahead. Before you go there, plan ahead who is going to make the sacrifice and who is going to be the designated driver.
Digicel has started offering ad blocking technology on its networks in Barbados as part of a plan to force internet companies including Google, Yahoo and Facebook to pay to access its customers. Digicel has in the past suggested that if those companies want to unblock their ads, they should contribute to the costs of the mobile telecoms infrastructure required to deliver them. According to the company, ads use up to 1/10 of a customer's data plan allowance. Eliminating them would save customers money. Digicel Barbados commercial manager Mark Conway said in a release that the ad blocking service helps customers to protect their data allowances and their mobile spend, as well as giving them the choice of whether to receive these ads or not. Hundreds of Canadians and Brits have flocked to Barbados this winter to escape the cold back home. Nation News visited Browns Beach this week to talk to some of them.
Always at Christmas, it's just such a beautiful island. It's so friendly, all round sunshine, what can you say? You know, and the people are just great, the food's lovely, and just love the beaches, look at it, perfect.
I do it every year. I do it on my birthday and I do it on Christmas, July, December, all year round. Been doing it for the last 9-10 years. So it's always here first, then maybe other islands, but always land here first.
Weather, and it's just a beautiful place. I love it here.
In sport, the franchise salary cap for this year's Caribbean Premier League has been raised as officials seek to attract some of the world's best cricketers. The organizers have announced the figure has been raised to $780,000 up from $600,000. The limit on overseas players has increased to 5 from 4. That on players who live on the franchise territory has been reduced from 4 to 2, and the squad sizes have also been increased by 1 to 17. And finally, it's a bit of a grainy video, but absolutely hilarious. The moment a desperate boyfriend tried his best to spare his girlfriend's blushes when her pants fell down on a Fairground ride in Costa Rica to reveal she wasn't wearing, well, you guessed it, any underwear. The embarrassed partner tried to wrap his legs around her and hide her exposed backside when he realized her trousers were coming down and she wasn't wearing anything underneath. But the violent vibrations of La Tagada, a disc that spins and throws people around, especially if they try to stand up, well, that proved too strong for him to keep hold. She ended up being flung into the center of the ride with her trousers round her knees and her bare bottom showing before the ride was brought to a halt. One of the onlookers took advantage of the confusion by recording the scene on his mobile and posting the footage online. There's a moral in that story, don't you think? And that's Nation News for Thursday. For more news, log on to nationnews.com as well as YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And remember to pick up your Daily Nation on Friday or subscribe to our e-paper. From all of us here at Nation News to all of you, thanks for being with us throughout 2015 and a very happy new year.